right, you guys, in this video, we are going to be talking about segments and midpoints. I was looking at the wrong screen, sorry. And a midpoint of a segment. So mid, just like you think, is middle. Okay, and point, obviously, the point that's in the middle. Okay, so if we look at this diagram over here, just kind of make sense of it as we go. The midpoint and how we identify that. Let me see if I have something to color code this. I can tell that B is the midpoint of this segment because it's been notated with those tick marks. Remember, the tick marks mean they're congruent to each other. Tick marks mean they're congruent because if you remember, in congruency, we don't have numbers. We have pictures, and those pictures have to be notated somehow for us to know that they are equal or they're the same. So I know that segment AB is equal or congruent, I should say, to segment BC because of those tick marks. And then I can also go a little bit further in explaining this. I left all my colors somewhere else. By saying, you know what, I also know that this line right here, line L, is what's cutting my segment in half. Okay, so let's get some of these definitions out of the way so we can see it in action here. So the midpoint of a segment is a point that divides the segment into two congruent segments. Okay, a line, they always throw in all this extra vocabulary. A line, remember, extends in both directions forever and ever. A ray is a half of a line. So it only extends in both directions one way. Or a segment, which is a piece of a line, so it ends on both ends, okay, that intersect. Remember, intersect just means cross. They cross each other, like the intersection of a road. Intersects a segment at its midpoint is said to bisect. So you are going to hear me use this word bisect. Bisect, like just cut it in half. Okay? Said to bisect the segment and is called the segment bisector. They don't think hard on these names, right? If it bisects a segment, it's called a segment bisector. Okay? In the diagram to the left, we see that point B, so that's a capital B, is the midpoint of segment AC. Drawing the right picture, so make sure I draw the picture. This capital letter means point. And line L is a segment bisector because the line is what's cutting it in half, and it's cutting it in half at point B, which is the midpoint. Does that make sense? Okay, of segment AC. So here's an example where they've told us that point Q is the midpoint of segment PR, and we need to find the value of X. All right, so remember, my first step is to make sure everything in my diagram is filled out, that all the information is given. It looks like it is. They don't tell us what the total PR, right? And we just want to find X. So I'm going to squeeze in here. Let me get my pink color again. I know that these two are congruent by definition of midpoint. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put my notation there. So my second step would be my geometric statement of saying that I know segment PQ is equal to segment QR, and my reasoning is definition of midpoint. I know it's a lot of extra work. Some of you are going to be really angry at me when I'm looking at your work and expecting all of this and the little reasoning off to the side. But if you trust the process, it's going to make proofs and things like that later on, okay? Because geometry is not about like real difficult mathematic equations. It's about a little bit more abstract thinking, more proving and explaining all of our thinking processes, okay? So definition of midpoint is the reason I can write that geometric statement. And after that, I can change it into that handy dandy algebra we've been doing for years now, right? All right, so setting it up. And once you have that, just get busy solving those equations that you've been doing forever. Cross those out. Now, if you don't like how I do 2 steps at once, feel free to do 1 step at a time. You do whatever works best for you here. Unless you come at me and say, well, what works best for me is I don't show any work, you know that's not going to be okay. All right, divide both sides by 3. X equals 6. Oh, you saw I almost put a box around it because I'm just so trained. X equals a number. I'm done. But let me double check and make sure that that's what the question was asking for, right? And it is, so I'm done. Okay, so let's look at this example here. The problem says if H is the midpoint, so they do have to tell us that. Don't assume that it's the midpoint unless they tell us or it has the congruency tick marks, okay? Geometry likes to trick us into assuming, and then we get our problems wrong. So if H is the midpoint of segment GI, find GH. So again, first step, make sure my diagram is neat, everything's labeled. No other information is given that I can fill out here. So I'm going to go to my geometric statement. So my geometric statement is saying, because of midpoint, that means it's cut in half. So these are the same. So I know segment GH is equal to segment HI by definition of midpoint. Make sure you write your reasoning, okay? That allows me to now set this up as an algebraic equation, and then I can just solve. So all my x's on the left, all my numbers on the right. Don't forget to change your signs. We are doing inverse operations here. And I get negative 4x equals negative 12. Divide both sides by negative 4. See, these steps are the same. You're going to get to where you're almost like a robot solving these. All right, so x equals 3. Don't box it in yet until we go back and make sure. Find GH. Okay, so you'll notice they went from pictures to now give me a number. Okay, that's why it doesn't have the segment above it. So that means actually solve it, okay? So if I go back here to GH, I know solving it with numbers, I need the numbers at 5x plus 20. And then keep that just like it would be my y equals mx plus b or something. Keep your GH, substitute x with 3, and I get 15 plus 2. I know you'll notice it's a lot of repetitive writing, but that's okay. GH is 17. Put a box around it. Look how neat and pretty that is. Make sure yours is too. Okay, our next example, we're just going to do one more, and then we'll have some room left over on the bottom of our page. But as we practice these, if we come across a problem, then we're like, hey, that one was kind of tricky. We can just let me know, and we can definitely come back and add it to our notes so you have those to refer back to. All right, so how's this one a little different? If R is the midpoint, so point R is the midpoint of segment QS, find the picture QS, find the number. That's why they don't have the segment drawn above it. Difference between congruent and equality. Okay, everything's labeled, no additional information I can add. Sorry, my camera keeps wanting to adjust automatically there. There we go. Second is I'm going to set up my geometric statement. I know by midpoint that QR is equal to RS by definition of midpoint. Okay, third step is I can set this up as an algebraic statement. Razzle dazzle us with some algebra. Move that x to the left. Move that number to the right. Negative 33. Be careful of those sneaky negatives. They'll get us every time. Okay, x is equal to 11. Sorry, you guys, our allergies are kicking in right now. Better slow down and make sure it's asking for x. And of course it's not, right? It can't always be that easy. So they're wanting QS. But what I noticed is QS is the entire thing. Okay, so what I can do is find each of these and then add those together. So here we go. I know that QR is equal to, whoops, no, I messed up. That should say QS. Oh, you know what? Ignore that. Let me redo it. Okay, I know that QR plus RS, right? Go back to my segment addition postulate. Let's get this all fancy up here. Okay, QR plus RS equals QS because QS is what I'm wanting anyways. So 2x plus 16 plus 5x minus 17 equals QS. Now I can just substitute my 11 for x. Remember to use your parentheses. Okay, now it's just order of operations. I'm going to multiply before I add and subtract. So I get 22 plus 16 plus 55 minus 17 equals QS. Order of operations tells me if I'm adding and subtracting, I want to go left to right. A lot of us forget that left to right rule. So I get 38 plus 55 minus 17 equals QS. Keep going left to right here, 8. 93. And no, I'm not trusting my brain with mental math right now. And I get 76. And I have answered the question. So I'm boxing it in. Look how beautiful that is.